Today, we are going to look at the worst animal attacks ever recorded. From a sea urchin diver that attracted an aggressive blue shark to a zookeeper who forgot the capabilities of silverback gorillas. Let's dive straight in. The morning of April 14th, 2014 dawned with perfect conditions at southeast Farallon Island, California. The Pacific Ocean stretched endlessly under a brilliant blue sky, with crystal-clear visibility that marine researchers dream of. The water temperature held steady at 58 degrees Fahrenheit, ideal for the California sea lions that called these rocky outcroppings home. Emma Rodriguez, 24, couldn't have asked for better conditions for her thesis research dive. The UC Santa Barbara graduate student had been awake since 4:30 a.m., her excitement barely contained as she prepared her equipment on the research vessel. Emma was intensely passionate about marine biology, methodical in her research, and fearless when it came to underwater exploration. She had completed her scientific diving certification 18 months earlier and had already logged 89 research dives, mostly in the familiar waters of Monterey Bay. Working under Dr. Patricia Chen's lab, Emma was conducting her third dive at the Farallons, focusing on California sea lion foraging behavior for her master's thesis. The Farallon Islands, located 27 miles west of San Francisco, were known as the Galapagos of California for their incredible biodiversity. What made these waters so rich in marine life also made them incredibly dangerous. The Farallons sit directly in the path of the California current, creating an explosion of marine life that attracts the ocean's most feared predator. Massive colonies of seals and sea lions, over 100,000 individuals during peak season, hauled out on the rocky shores. Great white sharks patrol these waters with evolutionary perfection, honed over 400 million years. These apex predators can grow up to 20 feet in length and weigh over 5,000 pounds. Their torpedo-shaped bodies capable of explosive bursts of speed reaching 25 miles per hour. Their most terrifying feature is their mouth, lined with up to 300 serrated triangular teeth that continuously regenerate throughout their lifetime. At 6:45 a.m., Emma made her fatal mistake. She descended to 25 feet, positioning herself directly above a seal haul-out ledge during peak predation hours, the ring of death that occurs between 6 and 8 a.m. when seals return from overnight foraging trips, exhausted and vulnerable. Wearing her standard black wetsuit and carrying a bright yellow data slate, Emma remained perfectly still 15 feet above the seal colony, methodically counting and photographing the animals. What Emma didn't know was that an 18-foot female great white had been patrolling these waters since dawn. This massive predator, weighing approximately 4,500 pounds, had already made 2 unsuccessful attacks on seals and was in an aggressive hunting state. Female great whites are typically larger than males and more aggressive, especially during feeding periods. Great whites possess extraordinary sensory capabilities that make them perfect killing machines. They can detect a single drop of blood in 25 gallons of water from up to 3 miles away. Emma's silhouette against the surface, combined with her black wetsuit and methodical movements, perfectly mimicked a resting seal. Her yellow data slate, flashing in the sunlight, may have resembled the pale belly of an injured seal. The attack came with devastating precision. The shark approached from the deep channel below, accelerating to its maximum speed of 25 miles per hour in the last 20 feet. The attack was so violent that the shark's momentum carried both predator and prey several feet above the surface in an explosion of white water. The massive jaws, measuring 18 inches across, delivered the initial bite to Emma's torso with the full force of 1,800 psi. The serrated teeth, each up to 2.5 inches long, sliced through her wetsuit, flesh and bone with surgical precision. Her dive partner, working 150 feet away, heard the distinctive surface disturbance and saw the explosive white water that marked a great white attack. The research vessel crew activated emergency protocols immediately, but Emma had sustained catastrophic damage to major organs and arteries. The great white's bite had crushed ribs, punctured lungs, and severed major blood vessels. She was recovered in just 4 minutes, but the massive internal bleeding and shock had already begun shutting down her vital systems. Emma died before the Coast Guard helicopter could reach the mainland. Her promising career in marine science cut tragically short during peak predation hours in the world's most active great white hunting ground. While the crystal-clear waters of California claimed one life in their deadly embrace, hundreds of miles south, another diver would soon discover that changing ocean conditions can bring unexpected predators into familiar waters. September 22, 2015, brought unusual conditions to Bodega Bay, California. Heavy rains from the previous week had created significant runoff, reducing underwater visibility to a dangerous 3 feet and bringing nutrients that attracted massive schools of bait fish. The water temperature had risen to an unusual 64 degrees Fahrenheit due to El Niño conditions. Carlos Mendoza, 38, had seen worse conditions in his 12 years of commercial sea urchin diving, but something felt different about this day. Carlos was the kind of diver other professionals respected, methodical, experienced, and never one to take unnecessary risks. His weathered hands and sun-darkened skin told the story of over 2,000 commercial dives along the Northern California coast. He worked exclusively with his brother as a dive tender, and their operation was known for its safety record. The recent El Niño weather pattern had created unusual conditions throughout the Pacific coast, bringing warmer water temperatures and altered current patterns that disrupted normal marine ecosystems. These conditions had attracted an unexpected visitor to the shallow waters of Bodega Bay, a predator that typically remained in deeper offshore waters. Blue sharks are among the most wide-ranging and aggressive predators in the world's oceans. These sleek, fast-moving sharks typically inhabit open ocean environments, but are known to venture into coastal waters when following prey or unusual current patterns. Growing up to 12 feet in length and weighing up to 400 pounds, blue sharks are built for speed and endurance. What makes blue sharks particularly dangerous is their opportunistic and aggressive nature. Unlike many shark species that are cautious around unfamiliar objects, blue sharks are bold investigators that will attack almost anything that moves. That afternoon, Carlos was completing his final dive of the day, working at 45 feet depth to harvest red sea urchins from the rocky bottom near the Russian River mouth. The recent storms had stirred up the bottom sediment, creating murky conditions that reduced visibility to almost zero. Following strict commercial diving protocols, he began his ascent at 1:30 p.m., stopping at 15 feet for his mandatory 3-minute safety stop. The 10-foot blue shark had been patrolling these waters for several days, following the unusual warm water intrusion that had brought it far from its normal open ocean habitat. The murky conditions didn't hinder this predator, which relied heavily on its other senses to locate prey. The shark had been feeding on the abundant bait fish in the area, but the presence of a large moving object in its territory triggered its investigative response. As Carlos reached for his surface marker buoy during his safety stop, the movement attracted the blue shark's attention through the murky water. The shark's lateral line system detected the water displacement, while its ampullae of Lorenzini sensed the electrical field generated by his beating heart. Carlos caught a glimpse of movement in his peripheral vision, but couldn't identify the source in the murky conditions. The attack came suddenly and with devastating force. The blue shark grabbed Carlos's right leg just above the knee, its powerful jaws clamping down with 1,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. The sharp, triangular teeth sliced through his wetsuit and deep into muscle and bone. Blue sharks are known for their tenacious grip and thrashing behavior, designed to subdue large prey in the open ocean. Carlos immediately activated his emergency whistle and fought back with his urchin rake, striking at the shark's head and snout. But blue sharks are persistent attackers that rarely retreat once they commit to an assault. The thrashing continued for nearly 90 seconds as the shark attempted to subdue its prey. The shark's serrated teeth sawed through Carlos's femoral artery, sending clouds of blood into the murky water. The scent of blood triggered an even more aggressive response from the blue shark, which began to roll and twist in an attempt to tear away larger pieces of flesh. Carlos managed to drive his dive knife deep into the shark's gill area, finally forcing it to release its grip and retreat into the murky water. His brother heard the emergency whistle from the boat 100 yards away and immediately raced toward Carlos's dive flag, covering the distance in 90 seconds. Despite his brother's desperate efforts to control the bleeding and race toward shore at maximum speed, Carlos died from hemorrhagic shock during the 8-minute boat ride to the harbor. While the murky waters of Bodega Bay concealed a predator displaced by unusual conditions, 40 miles south of San Diego, a Coast Guard rescue swimmer was about to face a different kind of nightmare, one where mechanical failure would leave him stranded in open ocean. June 8, 2016, dawned with moderate swells and clear skies 40 miles southwest of San Diego, California. The Pacific stretched endlessly in all directions, its deep blue surface broken only by occasional whitecaps. The water temperature held steady at 68 degrees Fahrenheit. For Petty Officer Second Class Marcus Thompson, 28, it was shaping up to be a routine rescue operation, the kind he had successfully completed 127 times during his 6 years of Coast Guard service. Marcus embodied everything the Coast Guard looked for in a rescue swimmer. At 6 feet 2 inches with the lean, powerful build of a competitive swimmer, he had earned a reputation as one of the most capable rescue swimmers in his unit. He had pulled survivors from sinking vessels, plucked injured fishermen from storm-tossed boats, and once spent 45 minutes in 12-foot seas, rescuing a family whose yacht had capsized. The waters 40 miles offshore represented a completely different ecosystem from coastal areas. This was the domain of pelagic species, creatures adapted to life in the open ocean, where the nearest land might be hundreds of miles away. Here, apex predators ruled with absolute authority over vast territories of blue water. At 2:15 p.m., Marcus was lowered from an HH-60 Jayhawk helicopter to assist 3 fishermen whose vessel was taking on water rapidly. The fishing boat had been chumming for yellowfin tuna earlier in the day, creating a slick of blood and fish parts that extended for nearly a mile. As Marcus reached the water, in his bright orange survival suit, disaster struck. The helicopter's hoist mechanism failed catastrophically, stranding him in the open ocean, while the aircraft was forced to return to base for emergency repairs. What Marcus didn't know was that the chum slick had attracted several oceanic white-tip sharks to the area. These open ocean predators are considered by many marine biologists to be the most dangerous sharks in the world when it comes to open water encounters. Unlike coastal species that have abundant food sources, oceanic white-tips patrol vast areas of nutrient-poor open ocean, making them incredibly opportunistic and aggressive when they encounter potential prey. Oceanic white-tip sharks are perfectly adapted for life in the open ocean. They typically grow to 10 to 11 feet in length and can weigh up to 170 pounds, with a distinctive stocky build and rounded fins tipped with white markings that give them their name. What makes oceanic white-tips particularly terrifying is their feeding behavior. Unlike coastal sharks that might investigate and retreat, oceanic white-tips are persistent attackers that will continue their assault until their prey is completely consumed. They are known to follow ships for days, waiting for any opportunity to feed. During World War II, they were responsible for more human fatalities than any other shark species. A 10-foot male had been following the chum slick for hours, drawn by the scent of blood and fish oils. When Marcus entered the water, the shark immediately detected his presence through multiple sensory channels. Marcus treaded water in his survival suit, following his training to remain calm and avoid sudden movements. But in the open ocean, there was nowhere to hide. He was completely exposed in thousands of feet of blue water, his bright orange suit making him highly visible to any predator in the area. The shark approached Marcus with the bold confidence typical of its species. Unlike coastal sharks that might circle warily, the oceanic white-tip came directly toward him. Its large pectoral fins spread wide as it glided through the water with predatory grace. Marcus could see the distinctive white-tipped fins cutting through the surface as the massive predator closed the distance. For 20 agonizing minutes, the shark circled Marcus, making increasingly close passes while he tried to remain calm. Each pass brought the predator closer, its small, dark eyes fixed on him with unmistakable intent. When Marcus attempted to deploy his emergency shark repellent device, the cartridge malfunctioned, leaving him completely defenseless. The shark's investigation phase ended abruptly when it detected Marcus's increasing stress levels through his elevated heart rate and rapid breathing. The oceanic white-tip struck with bold aggression, grabbing Marcus's leg with devastating force. Its powerful jaws clamped down with approximately 1,000 psi of pressure, the serrated teeth slicing through his survival suit and deep into muscle and bone. Marcus used his rescue knife to defend himself, striking at the shark's snout and gills in a desperate attempt to force it to release its grip. The attack lasted for nearly 2 minutes. The shark's persistence was characteristic of oceanic white-tips, which rarely retreat once they commit to an attack. Marcus's blood in the water only increased the predator's aggression. The backup helicopter arrived 25 minutes later to find Marcus unconscious and bleeding heavily. The water around him stained red with his blood. The shark had finally released its grip when the helicopter's rotor wash disturbed the water surface, but the damage was catastrophic. Despite immediate medical attention during the flight to shore, Marcus died from massive blood loss and shock before reaching the hospital. His death led to mandatory backup shark deterrent systems for all Coast Guard rescue swimmers. While the open ocean claimed a hero's life in broad daylight, in the warm, clear waters of the Florida Keys, a world-class freediver was about to discover that even the most experienced ocean athletes can fall victim to the sea's most opportunistic and unpredictable predators. August 17, 2017, brought perfect conditions to the waters 25 miles off Marathon in the Florida Keys. The Gulf Stream current ran clear and blue, with visibility extending over 100 feet into the crystal-clear depths. The water temperature held steady at a comfortable 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Alexandra Alex Petrov, 31, had been looking forward to this deep training session for weeks. Alex was a legend in the freediving community, a world-ranked athlete who could dive to depths exceeding 200 feet on a single breath. Her lean, athletic build and intense focus had earned her multiple national records and the respect of freedivers worldwide. She had been teaching freediving for 8 years, running a successful school in Key Largo, where she trained hundreds of students. The waters off the Florida Keys represented some of the most challenging and rewarding freediving locations in the world. The proximity to the Gulf Stream brought clear, warm water and an abundance of pelagic species, but it also attracted some of the ocean's most dangerous predators. At 4:20 p.m., Alex was demonstrating deep, constant weight technique for an advanced student, preparing to descend to 180 feet. During her extended bottom time at 180 feet, Alex experienced shallow water blackout during her ascent, a condition where decreased oxygen levels cause unconsciousness as a freediver approaches the surface. When she finally broke the surface, gasping for air after the deep dive, she found herself 400 yards from her safety boat in unfamiliar water. What Alex didn't know was that she had surfaced directly in a feeding zone where a dead pilot whale calf had been floating for 2 days. The decomposing carcass had created a massive scent trail that attracted scavengers from miles around, including some of the ocean's most dangerous predators. Tiger sharks are among the most dangerous predators in tropical and subtropical waters worldwide. These massive sharks can grow up to 18 feet in length and weigh over 1,400 pounds, making them one of the largest predatory sharks in the ocean. Their distinctive dark stripes, which give them their name, fade as they mature, but their reputation as indiscriminate killers only grows stronger with age. What makes tiger sharks particularly terrifying is their feeding behavior. They are often called the waste baskets of the sea because they will eat virtually anything they encounter. Their stomachs have been found to contain everything from sea turtles and seals to license plates, tires, and even human remains. This indiscriminate feeding behavior, combined with their massive size and powerful jaws, makes them extremely dangerous to humans. Tiger sharks possess incredibly powerful jaws, capable of delivering up to 1,050 pounds per square inch of crushing force. Their teeth are uniquely designed with a curved, serrated edge that can cut through the shells of sea turtles, the tough skin of other sharks, and even metal objects. A 14-foot female tiger shark had been feeding aggressively on the whale carcass and was in a heightened predatory state. The massive predator, weighing approximately 1,200 pounds, had been gorging herself on the rich blubber and meat of the dead whale. When feeding on large carcasses, tiger sharks often become more aggressive and territorial, defending their food source against any perceived threats. Alex's rapid breathing and surface splashing after the deep dive attracted the shark's attention immediately. To the predator, the surface disturbance looked like a wounded or distressed animal, exactly the type of easy prey that tiger sharks are programmed to attack. The shark's lateral line system detected the water movements caused by Alex's breathing and arm movements, while her elevated heart rate after the deep dive created electrical signals that the shark could detect from a considerable distance. The massive predator approached from below, using the sun's glare on the surface to mask its approach until the final moment. Alex, still recovering from her deep dive and disoriented from the shallow water blackout, never saw the attack coming. The shark approached from below and grabbed Alex's torso in a single, devastating bite that showcased the full power of one of the ocean's most formidable predators. Massive jaws, capable of opening to a gape of nearly 2 feet, engulfed her midsection with crushing force. The serrated teeth sliced through her wetsuit and deep into her torso, crushing ribs and puncturing vital organs. The attack lasted approximately 30 seconds, but the damage was catastrophic. Tiger sharks are known for their powerful bite and thrashing behavior, using their muscular necks to cause maximum trauma to their prey. The shark's grip crushed Alex's ribcage and caused massive internal bleeding before it released her and disappeared into the depths. Her safety diver, searching frantically from the boat after losing sight of Alex during her ascent, heard her brief scream and located her within 3 minutes, but the damage had already been done. The shark's powerful jaws had crushed Alex's ribcage and punctured her lungs, liver, and other vital organs. Massive internal bleeding had already begun, and her body was going into shock from the trauma. Alex was pulled from the water and given immediate medical attention, but the damage was too severe. She died from massive internal trauma and blood loss before reaching shore. Her world-class athletic career ended by one of the ocean's most unpredictable predators. Investigation revealed that the whale carcass had created a feeding aggregation of multiple tiger sharks in the area, critical information that hadn't been communicated to local dive operators. The incident led to new protocols requiring marine wildlife surveys before deep diving operations. While the warm waters of the Florida Keys claimed a freediving champion off the coast of Mexico, an award-winning filmmaker was about to learn that artificial lights can transform even the most controlled shark encounter into a deadly nightmare. October 3, 2018 brought crystal clear conditions to the waters surrounding Isla Guadalupe, Mexico. The remote island, located 150 miles off the Baja California coast, offered some of the clearest water and most predictable great white shark encounters on the planet. Visibility extended over 150 feet in the deep blue water, and the water temperature held steady at 70 degrees Fahrenheit. David Chen, 33, had been looking forward to this night shoot for months, knowing that documenting nocturnal great white behavior could revolutionize understanding of these apex predators. David was an award-winning underwater cinematographer whose work had appeared in National Geographic documentaries and major motion pictures. His passion for shark behavior had led him to specialize in great white footage, and he had spent 5 years filming at Guadalupe Island without incident. He had thousands of hours of great white footage and worked exclusively with the most established and safety-conscious operators in the business. Isla Guadalupe had become the premier destination for great white shark encounters due to its unique geography and marine ecosystem. This topography, combined with abundant seal colonies and nutrient-rich currents, creates perfect conditions for great white sharks. Waters around Guadalupe host one of the largest concentrations of great whites in the world. The great white sharks of Guadalupe are among the largest and most impressive specimens of their species. At 8:30 p.m., David was filming from a specially designed night cage, part of a National Geographic project documenting nocturnal great white behavior that had never been captured on film before. The cage was constructed of reinforced aluminum bars with emergency release mechanisms designed to prevent entrapment if the structure became damaged. David was using cutting-edge equipment, including a new high-intensity LED array that produced 12,000 lumens, significantly brighter than any underwater lighting system previously used for shark filming. Great white sharks are primarily visual hunters that rely heavily on their eyesight to locate and attack prey. What David didn't anticipate was how the intense artificial lighting would affect a massive 17-foot male great white that had been hunting in the area. Great whites have evolved to hunt in specific light conditions, and the powerful LED array began to disorient and agitate the already territorial predator. The artificial lighting disrupted the shark's natural hunting behavior, creating confusion and stress that manifested as increasingly aggressive behavior. The 17-foot male great white, weighing approximately 3,800 pounds, had been patrolling the waters around Guadalupe for several days. This was a mature, experienced predator that had successfully hunted in these waters for years. Male great whites of this size are incredibly territorial and aggressive, especially when their normal behavior patterns are disrupted. Great white sharks possess a complex nervous system that processes visual information with remarkable efficiency. Their brains are specifically adapted to interpret the subtle light patterns and shadows that indicate the presence of prey. When exposed to artificial lighting of extreme intensity, their visual processing system can become overwhelmed, leading to disorientation and aggressive behavior. The shark started exhibiting increasingly erratic behavior, repeatedly ramming the cage with tremendous force. Each impact sent shockwaves through the water and caused the entire cage structure to shake violently. The aluminum bars, designed to withstand the force of a great white attack, began to show stress fractures under the repeated impacts. David continued filming, believing that the cage would protect him from the agitated predator. Great white sharks can generate incredible force when attacking. Their torpedo-shaped bodies, powered by massive tail muscles, can accelerate from 0 to 25 miles per hour in seconds. Shark's behavior became increasingly frenzied as the bright lights continued to disorient its visual system. What should have been a controlled observation session was rapidly deteriorating into a dangerous confrontation between human technology and one of nature's most perfect predators. When David tried to adjust his lighting setup to reduce the shark's agitation, he accidentally triggered the cage's emergency release mechanism, a safety feature designed to prevent entrapment if the cage became damaged during an attack. The top section of the cage opened, creating a 3-foot gap that the massive shark immediately exploited. Great whites are incredibly intelligent predators with excellent spatial awareness. The shark recognized the opening instantly and adjusted its attack pattern to take advantage of the breach in David's defenses. The agitated great white drawn by the intense lights and David's movements, attacked through the opening with explosive force. This 17-foot individual was already in an excited, aggressive state, and its attack carried the full force of millions of years of evolutionary refinement. The shark's massive jaws, measuring over 18 inches across, clamped down on David's torso with devastating force. The 300 triangular, serrated teeth sliced through his diving equipment and deep into his chest and shoulders. The bite force of 1,800 psi crushed ribs and punctured vital organs, while the shark's brief thrashing motion caused additional trauma as it attempted to drag its prey from the compromised cage. The attack lasted only seconds, but the damage was catastrophic. David's underwater camera continued recording throughout the encounter, capturing footage that would later be used to analyze the incident and improve safety protocols. The images showed the incredible power and speed of a great white attack, as well as the devastating effectiveness of their primary weapon. The boat crew immediately cut all lights and activated emergency protocols, and the sudden darkness seemed to calm the shark, which released its grip and disappeared into the depths as quickly as it had appeared. But the damage was done. David had sustained catastrophic injuries to his cardiovascular and respiratory systems. He was recovered within 90 seconds, a remarkably fast response time that demonstrated the professionalism of the dive crew. But the great white's attack had severed major arteries and crushed vital organs. Despite immediate first aid and emergency medical procedures, David was bleeding internally at a rate that made survival impossible. David died from blood loss and shock before the support vessel could reach the mainland, his final moments captured on the very cameras he had used to document the ocean's apex predators. The footage he had been recording became evidence in the investigation that followed, providing unprecedented insight into great white behavior under artificial lighting conditions. This tragic incident led to new protocols limiting light intensity for all-night filming operations with great whites and requiring backup safety systems for cage diving operations. The investigation revealed that high-intensity artificial lighting could trigger aggressive behavior in great whites, transforming controlled observation sessions into deadly encounters. It was August 12, 2015, in a quiet neighborhood in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The late afternoon sun was setting, casting long shadows across the well-kept lawns. From the street, nothing seemed unusual, and the houses looked calm. But inside one of the homes at the end of the street, an accident was quietly taking shape. Roger Halston was 45 years old and lived alone in his two-story house. He had been obsessed with snakes since his 20s, and over the years had built a collection of more than 50 snakes. His collection included large Burmese pythons, king cobras, and several species of vipers. He had changed his home to fit them, filling the basement with glass tanks, heat lamps, and other equipment. The air was thick with the musky smell of snake waste, which he considered a minor problem. Roger spent his time reading about snakes, keeping feeding logs and watching behavior, rarely leaving the basement for anything else. A week earlier, Roger had bought a rare white king cobra from a private seller. Known for being unpredictable, the snake was considered both a challenge and a prized addition among collectors. Earlier that week, a python had bitten him while he was fixing its tank, but he dismissed it as minor. That evening, he planned to feed several snakes at once, confident he could manage the risks. Friends and fellow hobbyists had warned him repeatedly against handling multiple venomous snakes at the same time, warning that even a small mistake could be fatal. But he ignored them. The basement was dimly lit, with heat lamps buzzing above each tank. Feeding containers and empty boxes were scattered across the floor, along with snake-handling tools and partially prepared frozen rodents. The aisles between tanks were narrow, leaving little room to move. The snakes themselves ranged from 10-foot Burmese pythons to adult king cobras, each capable of deadly defensive behavior if startled. Pythons squeeze with enormous strength, and venomous snakes like king cobras and vipers can strike quickly, affecting the nervous system or delivering tissue-damaging venom. Neighbors had noticed unusual activity in Roger's home. Some had seen large boxes of snakes arriving and were sometimes overwhelmed by the smell coming from his basement. A few had casually warned him about stacking tanks too high and overfilling his space. Local rules required secure handling and containment for venomous snakes. But Roger, overconfident in his experience, ignored the warning signs. He overlooked hissed warnings, defensive coiling, and repeated strikes at his gloved hands during routine feeding. At about 7:45 p.m., Roger began the feeding process. He carried several dead rodents into the basement, moving from tank to tank. The vipers were the first to react defensively. One viper jerked backward sharply when Roger's hand approached, narrowly missing a bite. Distracted, he stepped awkwardly, his foot catching the edge of a nearby python tank. The small python tipped over, falling with a crash that echoed across the cramped basement. The noise startled several snakes in the immediate area. One python lunged defensively at Roger's legs, followed moments later by another reacting to nearby movement. The white king cobra, sensing sudden disturbance, struck defensively at exposed arms and legs. Each snake acted independently, responding to vibrations, sudden motions, and unfamiliar sounds in its immediate environment. Other snakes coiled defensively or retreated to corners of the basement, avoiding direct involvement. A neighbor, Sarah Peterson, later reported hearing loud hisses, thuds, and breaking glass faintly audible through a partially open basement window. Alarmed, she called 911. Roger's struggle lasted only a few minutes. By the time help arrived, he was found unresponsive, partially coiled by one large python. Bite marks were evident from the king cobra, which had begun causing severe neurotoxic effects, and from several vipers. The floor was scattered with broken glass, bedding, and overturned feeding containers. 3 of the snakes were captured in temporary boxes, while the remainder hid in basement corners or dense vegetation near the house, out of sight. Security cameras from neighbors captured some movement and disturbances, confirming that the sequence of events, including slipping, tipping a tank, and startling the snakes, directly led to the fatal incident, though the strikes themselves were not visible. Investigators concluded that the bites and constriction were defensive responses, not a coordinated attack. Paramedics attempted to stabilize him while animal control worked to secure the remaining snakes. Despite their efforts to administer antivenom and provide emergency care, the combined effects of multiple venomous bites and progressive python constriction had already caused severe damage. The king cobra's venom affected his nervous system. The viper bites caused tissue damage, and the python's gradual constriction further complicated his breathing and blood circulation. In the weeks following the incident, the city reviewed private ownership regulations for venomous reptiles, imposing stricter containment and liability rules. Prospective snake owners were now required to obtain special permits, maintain secure enclosures, and carry liability insurance. The incident also prompted discussions about the ethics and safety of keeping large collections of venomous snakes in residential areas. Wildlife experts emphasized that these animals, while fascinating, require specialized knowledge, proper facilities, and respect for their dangerous nature. The chaos of handling too many snakes at once proved fatal in Florida. Months later, deep in the jungles of Pará, Brazil, another snake encounter would take a dangerous turn in the wild. It was May 3rd, 2016, in a remote village by the river in Pará, Brazil. The morning was foggy from the village. The river looked calm and slow, but the shadows along the water hinted at hidden dangers below the surface. Andre Silva was 32 years old and had spent years studying snakes. He was an amateur snake expert who worked with a small local zoo. He documented snake movements and sometimes caught specimens for research. He lived with his wife and young child, who he talked about often. He saw his work as a way to balance his interest in snakes with providing for his family. Andre was confident in his field skills and experienced with large snakes, but his confidence sometimes made him take unnecessary risks. He often went into thick jungle areas alone, believing his knowledge and strength could handle environmental dangers. That day, he planned to trap and measure a female anaconda that locals had warned was unusually aggressive. Andre had been tracking the river and its tributaries for weeks. He mapped snake locations, noted water depths, and recorded movements. He carried measuring tools, a small net, and a bag with snake handling equipment. He wore waterproof boots and lightweight clothing, but the forest floor was slippery and tree roots stuck out unpredictably. Despite these precautions, the thick vegetation and shallow streams created hidden dangers. The riverbank was soft and muddy, and the water often hid sudden drop-offs. The target of Andre's expedition was a female green anaconda that could reach over 20 feet long and weigh several hundred pounds. These snakes kill by squeezing, applying huge pressure until prey suffocates. While they are usually ambush predators, anacondas react quickly to threats, striking defensively if disturbed. Their muscular bodies allow them to coil and pull even large animals into water, where escape becomes difficult. Warnings had been frequent. Villagers mentioned unusual behavior from the anaconda, including getting upset when boats came near and sightings of her coiled near fishing paths. They told Andre not to enter the water alone or try to corner the snake, but he ignored these observations, trusting his handling techniques and experience with smaller snakes. He stepped into a tributary around 4 p.m., believing it to be shallow, unaware of a sudden drop-off hidden by murky water and water plants. As Andre waded in, his foot sank deeper than expected, causing him to lose his balance. He bent forward to steady himself, accidentally disturbing the anaconda, which had been coiled along the bank. Villagers on a nearby ridge saw him stumble and noticed the massive green body of the snake rising in a defensive posture. Andre tried to step back, but the anaconda's coils gradually wrapped around his legs and lower body, pulling him slowly toward deeper water. His bag and tools scattered into the shallows, creating noise and further agitation. The struggle lasted several minutes. The initial coil around Andre's legs restricted his movement, and each of his attempts to free himself caused the snake to adjust its position, gradually tightening its grip. His arms moved through mud and reeds, stirring the water, while the anaconda shifted defensively rather than aggressively hunting. Water rose to his waist and then chest as the snake's strength slowly pulled him farther into the tributary. From the ridge, villagers could see floating items, his hat, and scattered tools, but the details of the snake's hold were mostly obscured by reeds and murky water. Despite splashing and struggling, Andre could not free himself, and the surrounding brush prevented direct assistance. By the time local rescuers reached the tributary, the snake had released him and withdrawn into the riverbank vegetation, likely due to lack of movement or perceived threat. Only the coils remained briefly visible in the shallow water. Andre's body was never recovered. The river and its deep channels had hidden all trace. His measuring tools, net and bag, were found partially floating downstream, muddy and waterlogged. Villagers conducted a ceremonial ritual along the river, leaving offerings to honor his memory and the forces of the river, a customary practice for those lost to natural hazards. Later, the same anaconda was spotted but never captured, moving silently through the tributary system. The incident showed the dangers of underestimating the environment and overestimating personal skill. Investigators noted that the drop-off Andre had misjudged, combined with the snake's defensive response, created a realistic and fatal situation. From the rivers of Brazil to the remote farms of Queensland, encounters with large constrictors continued to turn deadly. Even in open pastures, the risks of handling powerful snakes could escalate in an instant. It was September 21st, 2014, in rural Queensland, Australia. The evening was humid and it had rained earlier. Storm clouds were overhead. From the farmhouse, the property looked calm. But on one edge of the land, something dangerous was about to happen. Luke McAdams was 29 years old and had worked as a farmhand on his family's property for most of his life. He lived with his partner and was responsible for taking care of the fields, livestock, and buildings. Beyond farm work, he was interested in snakes, especially pythons, which he kept in a small area near the edge of the property. Recently, he had gotten a 12-foot carpet python, which was unusually large even for that type of snake. Luke had spent weeks getting it used to its new home, feeding it and watching its behavior. He thought he could handle it safely. Though he had some experience, he sometimes took unnecessary risks, including checking on the snakes at night when it was hard to see. That night, Luke wanted to check on his snakes before the rain came back. He had already noticed minor scratches on his arms from handling the python earlier in the week, but he thought they were no big deal. His partner had told him to secure the enclosures properly and suggested waiting until daylight. But Luke ignored the advice. He wanted to make sure the snakes were fed and accounted for. He underestimated how stormy conditions could make the ground slippery and make it harder to access the outdoor pens. The enclosure area was an open space with a dirt floor that was muddy from earlier rain. The fence was low and reinforced with wire mesh. Each tank and pen had branches, rocks, and hiding spots for the snakes, but space was cramped and crowded. Light rain was falling, making surfaces slippery under the dim outdoor lights. The 12-foot carpet python's pen had a metal latch that was slightly bent from previous use. Its grip was weakened just enough that a moment of not paying attention could allow the snake to escape. Carpet pythons are non-venomous constrictors that can subdue prey by wrapping their muscular bodies around it. A large python of this size can immobilize an adult human over several minutes, gradually increasing pressure with each coil. Usually they avoid confrontation, biting only defensively, and constriction becomes effective slowly rather than instantly. Wrong moves, loud movements, or startled reactions can cause defensive strikes from even well-adjusted snakes. Earlier that evening, neighbors had seen Luke moving between pens in the dark. They saw him lean over the large python's enclosure and occasionally inspect the latches. Stormy weather made the ground slippery, limiting safe footing. The latch on the python's enclosure was slightly bent and loose, enough that a startled snake could push it open, though Luke did not notice the problem. At around 9 p.m., Luke bent down to check the python's water dish. His foot slipped in the mud, causing him to stumble forward. The slight movement was enough to startle the python. It slipped past the weakened latch and rose from the pen with a low hiss, initially coiling around his lower legs. Luke tried to step back, but the wet ground made him slip, and the snake tightened gradually as he struggled. The neighbors, watching from their farmhouse a few hundred feet away, could make out Luke's shape moving strangely and heard muffled calls, but the low light and distance prevented them from seeing any details of the struggle. The python gradually moved higher as Luke struggled, restricting his arm movements and compressing his chest over several minutes. Mud splashed, branches rustled, and his flashlight fell to the ground. The snake's actions were deliberate and defensive, responding to sudden motion and noise, not hunting. Slowly, Luke found it harder to breathe and move, the constrictor's strength increasing with each coil. By the time his partner reached the enclosure with a flashlight and shouted for help, Luke was completely unable to move. Attempts to manually pull the python off without proper tools were dangerous and often caused the snake to tighten its grip further. The snake remained coiled defensively around him. Emergency animal authorities were called, and when they arrived, they killed the python to safely recover his body. The scene showed the python's coils had wrapped progressively, with the ground churned in mud and water. Minor scratches on his arms and legs matched prior handling incidents, and disturbed plants showed the struggle had been real and went on for a while. The aftermath led to the temporary closure of the property's snake collection. Inspectors documented all enclosures, latches, and pens. Recommendations were made for secure containment, nighttime handling precautions, and additional training for anyone working with large constrictors. From rural properties to bustling marketplaces, venomous snakes continued to claim victims in unexpected ways. Even brief encounters in crowded spaces could turn chaotic and dangerous. It was June 7th, 2017, in the bustling Chalai market in Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala. The morning air hung thick with moisture from the previous night's monsoon rains. By midday, something would happen in one corner of this crowded marketplace that would change how venomous snakes were sold in Kerala forever. Ravi Menon was 40 years old. A lean man with calloused hands and deep-set eyes had been selling exotic reptiles for nearly 15 years, operating from a small wooden stall squeezed between a spice merchant and a woman who sold jasmine garlands. Ravi lived alone in a cramped room above his shop, his only companions the dozen snakes he kept in wooden boxes and glass terrariums. The locals knew Ravi as a man who took dangerous risks. While other snake handlers used long metal hooks and thick leather gloves, Ravi preferred to work with his bare hands. He believed that direct contact allowed him to better read the animal's moods and movements. Customers would gather in small crowds to watch him lift cobras and vipers from their containers, mesmerized by his apparent fearlessness. Ravi had been waiting for this particular morning for 2 weeks. A wealthy collector from Kochi was coming to see his newest acquisition, a monocled cobra he had purchased from a dealer in Tamil Nadu. The snake was magnificent, nearly 4 feet long with distinctive eye spots on the back of its hood. It was also increasingly aggressive, coiling tightly whenever anyone approached its container and spreading its hood at the slightest disturbance. The marketplace that morning buzzed with its usual energy. The stone floor was slick with water and crushed vegetables, making footing treacherous in some areas. Monocled cobras are among India's most dangerous snakes. Unlike their larger king cobra cousins, they are smaller but far more aggressive when cornered. Their venom contains powerful neurotoxins that attack the nervous system, causing paralysis and respiratory failure within hours if left untreated. In the wild, they prefer to retreat when threatened, but in captivity, with nowhere to escape, they become unpredictable and defensive. Experienced handlers knew to give these snakes plenty of space and always use proper tools. But Ravi had grown overconfident through the years, without a serious accident. Just 3 days earlier, a young boy had wandered too close to the cobra's container, and the snake had struck at the glass so violently that several customers had jumped back in alarm. Ravi had laughed it off, telling the boy's worried mother that the snake was just showing off. He had dismissed the incident as normal behavior, refusing to acknowledge what other handlers would have recognized as clear warning signs. The day went on, and Ravi arranged his stall carefully, positioning the cobra's wooden box on the counter, where the collector would have the best view. Inside the container, the snake remained coiled in the back corner. Around 10:15 a.m., Ravi spotted his customer making his way through the crowd. Ravi began preparing for his demonstration. He had done this hundreds of times before. Lift the snake, show its hood, demonstrate its alertness to prove its quality. When Ravi opened the cobra's container, the snake was already pressed against the front wall with its hood spread. Its tongue moved quickly, and its body was tight. Instead of staying in the back corner like usual, it was ready to attack. The cobra bit Ravi as soon as he put his hand inside. The snake moved very fast and bit his wrist above his watch. The pain went up his arm right away. Ravi tried to pull back, but the cobra held on and wrapped around his arm. People screamed and ran away, knocking over fruit and breaking bottles on the ground. The collector just stood there, shocked. For several seconds that felt much longer. Ravi fought with the snake around his arm. The cobra's hood was wide open, showing the marks that give these snakes their name. Every time Ravi moved, the fangs went deeper and more poison went into his body. Finally, Ravi hit his arm hard against the wooden table. This made the cobra let go and fall back into its box. The snake curled up right away. Ravi stepped back, holding his bleeding arm. You could see 4 holes where the fangs had bitten him. The market became very busy and loud. The spice seller next door tore a piece from a cloth bag and tied it around Ravi's arm. Someone ran toward the main road to get help, yelling for drivers to move out of the way. The collector was scared, but stayed calm now. He got down next to Ravi and pressed hard on the cloth as blood came through it. Ravi stayed sitting up, but his body was shaking. The feeling of no sensation moved past his hand, and his words were hard to understand when he tried to talk. The morning traffic was very heavy, so it was a small 3-wheel taxi and not an ambulance that took Ravi away. The driver used his horn the whole time as people and motorcycles moved out of the way. At one point, Ravi's head fell to the side and the collector shook him hard to keep him awake. Doctors met them at the hospital door and took him quickly into the emergency room. They gave him medicine to fight the snake poison right away, but by then, Ravi's arm had grown very big with swelling. His skin had turned dark with marks that went past his elbow. The treatment saved his life, but left his hand weak forever. 3 of his fingers never got full feeling back, and his grip strength never came back. The bite changed more than Ravi's body. It changed the market. Local government workers said that all dangerous snakes must be kept behind locked walls, and they started checking the stalls without warning. Ravi's cobra was taken away and sent to a government snake research center. Months later, Ravi closed his stall for good. The small space was taken over by a vegetable seller, but people who shop there still pointed out to new people. That's where the snake man was bitten, they say. It is a quiet warning that even the most skilled handler can run out of luck. From crowded markets to remote rainforests, encounters with venomous snakes proved that danger could strike even the most prepared researchers. Isolation and unpredictable conditions only heightened the risks in the wild. It was October 18, 2018, near a research station outside Manaus, Brazil. Steady rain had left the forest floor wet and slippery, with mist clinging to the trees and rainfall masking distant sounds. Though the station looked calm, the flooded terrain was hazardous for anyone moving through it. Clara Fernandez was 27 years old and a herpetology student doing field research on venomous snakes. She shared a small cabin with 3 fellow students and spent most of her days cataloging species, measuring specimens, and recording behavior for her thesis. Clara was careful and detailed in her work, but she was known among her peers for taking calculated risks. She would work alone and sometimes remove gloves to get better touch observations. That morning, she planned to study a bushmaster near a flooded section of the forest, intending to record detailed behavior and habitat notes. She carefully packed her equipment: a handheld camera, field notebook, measuring tools, and her personal protective gear, leaving gloves aside for closer observations. By mid-morning, Clara had moved along narrow trails through dense vegetation. The forest floor was waterlogged, with mud pooling in low spots and small streams running unpredictably beneath her feet. Fallen leaves and submerged roots made footing uncertain. Birds were quiet, and insects were less active under the persistent rain. Clara noticed broken branches, disturbed leaves, and shallow depressions in the mud. These were signs that animals had recently moved through the area. She knew these were indications of nearby snakes, but felt confident in her knowledge and experience. Her peers had repeatedly warned her against entering flooded zones alone, particularly in areas known for bushmasters, but she believed she could manage a brief observation. The bushmaster is one of South America's largest vipers and can reach 10 feet long. Its venom is highly dangerous, capable of rapid bleeding throughout the body, tissue death, and low blood pressure. These snakes are ambush predators that generally avoid humans but will strike repeatedly if threatened. They are heavy-bodied and able to deliver precise, multiple strikes. They can adjust their position defensively when an intruder continues to bother them. Around 3:15 p.m., Clara reached a particularly flooded patch near a tributary. The water was murky, hiding roots and small drop-offs, and the mud was thick underfoot. She knelt at the edge of the water to examine tracks and take measurements. As she shifted her weight to steady herself, her foot slipped on a submerged root, causing her to stumble. In doing so, she accidentally disturbed a bushmaster hidden beneath leaf litter and shallow water. The snake reacted immediately, striking defensively. The first bite landed on her lower leg, puncturing the skin and causing sharp pain. Clara tried to step back, but the slippery, uneven terrain made it difficult to regain balance. Each movement sent vibrations through the water and mud, which the bushmaster perceived as continued threats. The snake struck again, biting her lower leg and calf in quick succession before recoiling into the leaf litter. While bushmasters do not squeeze like pythons, Clara's struggle in the mud and water slowed her movements and made retreat difficult. Her arms and hands disturbed floating debris and leaves, adding further stimuli, and her handheld camera and notebook fell into the water, partially submerged and catching glimpses of the tense scene. From a nearby tree platform, her fellow students could see splashes and floating items, but vegetation partially blocked their view of the snake. The encounter lasted only moments, but each bite injected venom, causing immediate local swelling and sharp pain. Clara focused on regaining her footing, the mud and water presenting almost as much danger as the snake itself. Clara was aware of the potential body-wide effects, including tissue death, low blood pressure, and blood clotting problems, but she had to first focus on moving through the flooded terrain while keeping herself upright. Field anti-venom kits were brought to the scene within 20 minutes. Clara received initial treatment from her peers while being prepared for evacuation. She was then airlifted to a hospital in Manaus, where doctors monitored her for body-wide poisoning. The bushmaster's venom had caused local tissue damage, swelling, and early signs of clotting disruption. Emergency care included giving anti-venom, pain management, and close monitoring of blood pressure. Over the following days, she underwent surgeries to remove dead tissue and prevent infection. Recovery required several months of physical therapy to restore movement and strength in her affected leg. The incident prompted a reassessment of fieldwork rules at the research station. Solo work in flooded areas was banned, and mandatory protective equipment, including gloves and stable footwear, was required. Equipment handling and communication rules were revised to ensure students remained in visual or radio contact at all times. Clara's partially recovered camera footage and field notes were preserved for research and safety training purposes. The incident showed how quickly a combination of environmental dangers, defensive animal behavior, and human error can escalate into a dangerous situation. Her movements, although instinctive, provoked a realistic defensive response from the Bushmaster, highlighting the delicate balance between observation and safety in field research. By the end of the season, the research station had implemented stricter guidelines and incorporated the incident into safety briefings. Clara's experience became an example for new students of the importance of staying cautious, using protective equipment, and respecting both the environment and the animals being studied. Her careful documentation and survival reinforced the value of preparedness, emergency response, and measured risk-taking in the field. It was April 18, 2016, and the sprawling grounds of Wildcat Haven, a private big cat sanctuary outside Austin, Texas, were settling into the quiet rhythm of evening feeding time. The 200-acre facility housed over 30 rescued lions, tigers, and other exotic cats in custom-built enclosures, surrounded by double-fenced barriers and security cameras. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the compound, while the distinctive sounds of roaring and pacing echoed from various habitats as the cats anticipated their daily meals. Chloe Anderson, a 24-year-old recent zoology graduate from Texas A&M University, was working her first professional job at the sanctuary after years of dreaming about a career in wildlife conservation. The young woman had grown up in suburban Dallas, spending her childhood volunteering at local animal shelters and reading everything she could find about big cats. Her passion for lion conservation had driven her to pursue a degree in zoology, and she had jumped at the opportunity to work hands-on with the magnificent predators she had studied for years. Chloe had been employed at Wildcat Haven for only 3 months, but her enthusiasm and dedication had already impressed the senior staff. She regularly volunteered for extra shifts, arrived early to help with morning preparations, and stayed late to assist with evening feeding routines. Her supervisor had noted that while Chloe's academic knowledge was excellent, she still needed more time to fully understand the practical aspects of working with dangerous predators. That evening, Chloe was assigned to feed the sanctuary's African lion pride, a group of 4 adults consisting of 1 dominant male, 2 females, and a younger male. The pride had been rescued from a defunct roadside zoo 3 years earlier and had established a complex social hierarchy within their large enclosure. African lions are apex predators that live in complex social groups called prides, typically consisting of related females, their offspring, and 1 or more dominant males. Adult males can weigh up to 420 pounds and possess incredible strength, speed, and hunting instincts that remain sharp even in captivity. Lions are highly territorial animals that become extremely aggressive when defending their food sources, and they coordinate their attacks with devastating efficiency. Chloe began the feeding routine by securing the lions in their holding area, a smaller enclosure connected to the main habitat by a series of gates and tunnels. The standard protocol required keepers to visually confirm that all animals were locked in the holding area before entering the main enclosure to distribute food. Chloe had successfully completed this process and was placing meat portions at various locations throughout the habitat when disaster struck. As she positioned the final portion of meat near the back fence, Chloe accidentally knocked over the metal feeding bucket, sending it clattering across the concrete floor of the enclosure. Without thinking, she made the fatal decision to retrieve the bucket immediately, rather than following protocol by exiting the enclosure and securing the lions before re-entering. Chloe opened the gate separating the main habitat from the holding area, assuming the lions were too focused on their food to pay attention to her movements. The pride's dominant male, a 400-pound specimen named Caesar, noticed Chloe's entry immediately. Caesar launched himself at Chloe with explosive power, his 400-pound frame covering the distance between them in 3 massive bounds. His front paws struck Chloe's back with bone-crushing force, driving her face first onto the concrete floor while his claws raked across her shoulders and spine. The 2 lionesses, responding to Caesar's attack signal, abandoned their food and joined the assault with deadly coordination. The The first female clamped her powerful jaws around Chloe's left arm, her crushing bite force shattering bones and severing major arteries. The second lioness attacked Chloe's legs, her razor-sharp claws opening deep gashes that immediately began bleeding profusely. Caesar's massive jaws found Chloe's neck, his powerful canine teeth puncturing through muscle and vertebrae with devastating efficiency. The dominant male's bite force compressed Chloe's windpipe and severed vital blood vessels, causing massive trauma that made survival impossible. Within minutes, Chloe's movements ceased as the coordinated assault proved fatal. The night security guard heard Chloe's initial screams and immediately radioed for emergency assistance while rushing toward the lion enclosure. By the time backup staff arrived with tranquilizer equipment, Chloe was already dead from massive trauma and blood loss. The 4 lions were successfully sedated and relocated to separate holding areas, while investigators examined the scene. The investigation revealed that Chloe had violated fundamental safety protocols by entering the main enclosure while the lions had access to the space. The sanctuary implemented mandatory 2-person teams for all feeding operations and installed additional safety barriers to prevent similar incidents. But Chloe's tragic mistake wasn't unique among animal handlers who underestimated the dangers of working with apex predators. Across the country in Ohio, a veteran keeper's overconfidence would prove equally fatal when he encountered a Siberian tiger that had found a way to breach its containment. It was September 7th, 2015. And the morning mist hung low over the grounds of Riverside Zoo in Columbus, Ohio, as staff members began their daily routines of animal care and exhibit maintenance. The 150-acre facility housed over 2,000 animals representing species from around the world, with the big cat section being one of the most popular attractions among visitors. The crisp autumn air carried the sounds of roaring, chattering, and calling as the animals anticipated their morning meals and enrichment activities. Marcus Thompson, a 38-year-old senior animal keeper, had arrived at work early to begin routine maintenance on the Siberian tiger habitat before the zoo opened to the public. Marcus had worked with big cats for 12 years and was widely regarded as the zoo's most experienced tiger handler. His confidence and expertise had earned him the respect of younger staff members, who often sought his advice on animal behavior and safety procedures. Marcus had started his career as an entry-level keeper after dropping out of college, but his natural ability to read animal behavior and his fearless approach to dangerous situations had quickly earned him promotions. Over the years, he had developed what he considered an intuitive understanding of big cat psychology, and he often bent safety rules that he felt were excessive for someone with his experience level. That morning, Marcus was scheduled to perform routine cleaning and maintenance in the tiger enclosure, a task that required the animal to be secured in its holding area while he worked in the main habitat. The standard protocol involved multiple safety checks to ensure all gates were properly locked and the tiger was completely contained before any human entered the exhibit space. Siberian tigers are the largest cats in the world, with adult males weighing up to 660 pounds and measuring over 10 feet in length. These apex predators possess incredible strength, speed, and hunting instincts that remain sharp even in captivity. Tigers are solitary, territorial animals that become extremely aggressive when they perceive threats to their domain. Their powerful jaws can deliver bite forces exceeding 1,000 pounds per square inch, while their retractable claws can grow up to 4 inches long. Marcus began his routine by activating the shift doors that would move Sasha, the zoo's 450-pound male Siberian tiger, from the main exhibit into the holding area. He watched through the observation window as the massive cat moved through the tunnel system, but he failed to perform the required double check of all gate mechanisms before entering the exhibit. Unknown to Marcus, Sasha had learned to manipulate one of the secondary gates by using his powerful paws to lift the locking mechanism. The intelligent predator had discovered this weakness weeks earlier, but had never exploited it when humans were present. Marcus entered the main exhibit carrying cleaning supplies and maintenance tools, confident that Sasha was secure in the holding area. He had performed this routine hundreds of times without incident, and his familiarity with the process had made him complacent about safety procedures. Sasha had successfully opened the compromised gate and was moving silently through the tunnel system back toward the main exhibit. The tiger's padded paws made no sound on the concrete surfaces, and his natural stealth allowed him to approach Marcus's position without detection. Marcus was bent over examining a drain cover when Sasha emerged from the tunnel entrance behind him. The massive tiger assessed the situation with predatory calculation, recognizing Marcus as an intruder in his territory. The attack came without warning or sound. Sasha launched himself at Marcus with explosive power, his 450-pound frame covering the distance between them in 2 massive bounds. The tiger's front paws struck Marcus's back with devastating force, driving him face-first onto the wet concrete, while razor-sharp claws raked across his spine and shoulders. Marcus's radio flew from his belt and skittered across the floor as Sasha's massive weight pinned him to the ground. The tiger's powerful jaws clamped down on Marcus's neck, his 4-inch canine teeth puncturing through muscle and vertebrae with crushing force. Marcus managed to activate his emergency whistle, but the brief sound was cut short as Sasha's bite severed his spinal cord. The tiger's powerful bite force compressed Marcus's windpipe and crushed vital blood vessels, causing immediate unconsciousness and massive internal bleeding. Sasha maintained his death grip while his hind claws raked across Marcus's torso, opening deep gashes that exposed internal organs. Marcus's movements ceased within the first minute of the attack, but Sasha remained positioned over his body for several more minutes, ensuring his territory was secure. Other keepers discovered the situation when Marcus failed to respond to radio calls during the routine safety check. Emergency response teams arrived with tranquilizer equipment and successfully sedated Sasha before recovering Marcus's body. The investigation revealed the compromised gate mechanism and led to a complete overhaul of the zoo's containment systems. Marcus's death shocked the zoo community and prompted enhanced safety training programs for all animal handlers. His family filed lawsuits against the facility, arguing that inadequate maintenance had contributed to the tragedy. The incident led to industry-wide reviews of big cat containment systems and mandatory redundant safety measures. However, even facilities with the most advanced safety systems couldn't prevent tragedies when experienced handlers made critical errors in judgment. In Florida, a former veterinary technician would discover that her medical training meant nothing when she misread the behavioral signals of one of nature's most unpredictable predators. It was July 12, 2017, and the humid Florida air hung heavy over the grounds of Everglades Wildlife Preserve, a 300-acre facility dedicated to rescuing and rehabilitating native and exotic species. The preserve specialized in South American animals, housing jaguars, ocelots, and various primate species in naturalistic habitats designed to mimic their wild environments. The afternoon sun beat down on the lush vegetation, while the sounds of tropical birds and calling monkeys created a symphony of wildlife activity. Isabella Rodriguez, a 26-year-old animal keeper, was beginning her afternoon rounds of the big cat section after completing her veterinary technician training the previous year. Isabella had transitioned from domestic animal medicine to exotic animal care, drawn by her passion for wildlife conservation and her desire to work with species that few people ever encountered. Her medical background had given her valuable skills in animal health assessment, but she was still learning the behavioral nuances of wild predators. Isabella had been working at the preserve for 8 months, gradually building her expertise with the facility's collection of South American cats. Her supervisor had repeatedly warned her that jaguars were particularly unpredictable compared to other big cats, with behavioral patterns that could shift rapidly from calm to aggressive without obvious warning signs. That afternoon, Isabella was conducting routine health observations of Luna, a 180-pound female jaguar that had been rescued from illegal captivity in Brazil. Luna had been at the preserve for for 2 years and had shown steady improvement in her physical condition, but she remained wary of human contact and displayed occasional signs of stress-related behaviors. Jaguars are the third largest cats in the world and the apex predators of South America, with adult females weighing up to 200 pounds and possessing the strongest bite force of any big cat. These solitary hunters are known for their ability to crush turtle shells and crocodile skulls with their powerful jaws, which can deliver bite forces exceeding 1,500 pounds per square inch. Jaguars are excellent swimmers and climbers, and they are renowned for their stealth and patience when hunting. Isabella entered Luna's enclosure following standard safety protocols, ensuring the jaguar was secured in the holding area before beginning her cleaning routine. She had observed Luna through the observation window and noted that the cat appeared unusually lethargic, lying motionless in her favorite resting spot near the back of the holding area. Isabella's veterinary training immediately raised concerns about Luna's apparent lack of energy. Her medical instincts overrode her safety training as she decided to get a closer look at the jaguar's condition. Isabella approached the barrier separating the main exhibit from the holding area, moving slowly and speaking in soft tones to avoid startling Luna. What Isabella failed to recognize was that Luna was exhibiting classic stalking behavior rather than illness. The jaguar had been tracking Isabella's movements from the moment she entered the enclosure, remaining perfectly still while calculating the optimal moment to strike. Luna's explosive attack came without any warning signs that Isabella's limited experience with wild cats would have recognized. The 180-pound jaguar launched herself at the barrier with incredible speed and power, her muscular frame covering the distance in a single bound. Luna's front paws struck the chain-link barrier with enough force to bend the metal mesh, while her powerful jaws snapped at Isabella's position. Isabella stumbled backward in shock, but Luna's incredible agility allowed her to reach through gaps in the barrier and grab Isabella's arm with her massive paw. The jaguar's razor-sharp claws sank deep into Isabella's flesh, holding her in place, while Luna's powerful jaws sought a killing bite through the barrier. Luna's powerful jaws found purchase on Isabella's shoulder through a gap in the barrier, her crushing bite force shattering the collarbone and severing major arteries. The jaguar's 4-inch canine teeth punctured deep into muscle and bone, while her incredible jaw strength compressed vital blood vessels. The jaguar's hind claws raked across Isabella's chest and abdomen as Luna tried to pull her prey closer to the barrier. Each swipe opened deep gashes that exposed underlying organs and caused massive blood loss. Other keepers arrived within minutes, but Luna's aggressive posture made immediate intervention impossible. Isabella's movements ceased, as massive blood loss and crushing injuries to vital organs proved fatal. Emergency responders arrived with tranquilizer equipment and successfully sedated Luna after a tense standoff. The investigation revealed that Isabella had violated safety protocols by approaching too close to the barrier, mistaking the jaguar's hunting behavior for signs of illness. The preserve installed motion sensor alarms in all big cat enclosures and enhanced training programs for staff members. Isabella's death prompted industry-wide reviews of safety protocols for veterinary assessments of dangerous animals. Her family established a foundation promoting safety education for wildlife caregivers, ensuring her dedication to animal welfare would continue through enhanced protection for both animals and their human caretakers. Yet even the most experienced zookeeper sometimes fell victim to the unpredictable nature of apex predators, particularly when overconfidence led them to take unnecessary risks with animals they believed they understood. It was May 30th, 2014, and the pristine mountain wilderness surrounding the Rocky Mountain Wildlife Center stretched endlessly across the Colorado landscape under brilliant spring sunshine. The 500-acre facility specialized in bear rehabilitation and research, housing rescued grizzly and black bears in large, naturalistic enclosures designed to prepare them for eventual release back into the wild. The crisp mountain air carried the scent of pine and wildflowers, while the distant sounds of rushing streams provided a peaceful backdrop to the center's important conservation work. David Kim, a 33-year-old zookeeper, was preparing for the routine medical examination of Bruno, a massive 600-pound male grizzly bear that had been rescued as an orphaned cub 5 years earlier. David had worked at the Wildlife Center for over 8 years, quietly dedicating himself to the daily care and rehabilitation of rescued bears throughout the Rocky Mountain region. His steady work ethic and calm demeanor around dangerous animals had made him a trusted member of the facility's animal care team. David was known among his colleagues as a reliable, no-nonsense keeper who preferred working with the animals to seeking attention or recognition. He had helped raise Bruno from a small cub into a massive adult male, spending countless hours ensuring the bear received proper nutrition, medical care, and enrichment activities. David took quiet satisfaction in his work, knowing that his efforts contributed to successful bear rehabilitation and eventual release back into the wild. That afternoon, David was scheduled to assist with administering routine vaccinations and collecting blood samples from Bruno as part of the center's ongoing health monitoring program. The procedure required the bear to be sedated with a combination of drugs delivered via dart gun, followed by a waiting period to ensure the sedative had taken full effect before any human contact occurred. Grizzly bears are among North America's most powerful predators, with adult males weighing up to 800 pounds and possessing incredible strength even when partially sedated. These massive omnivores retain all their wild instincts regardless of human contact, and they can become extremely aggressive when they feel threatened or disoriented. Grizzly bears have been known to fight off the effects of sedatives through sheer adrenaline, particularly when their territorial instincts are triggered. David successfully darted Bruno with the sedative and watched through the observation window as the massive bear gradually became less active. However, his eagerness to complete the medical procedures before the end of his shift led him to enter Bruno's enclosure before the recommended waiting period had elapsed. Bruno appeared to be fully unconscious as David approached with his medical equipment, but the massive grizzly was actually only partially sedated. The bear's incredible metabolism and body mass had prevented the drugs from taking full effect, leaving him disoriented but still capable of explosive movement. David had begun setting up his medical equipment when Bruno's eyes suddenly opened, focusing on the human intruder in his territory. The partially sedated bear's confusion and disorientation triggered his defensive instincts, and he perceived David's presence as an immediate danger that needed to be eliminated. Bruno's attack was swift and devastating despite his compromised state. The 600-pound grizzly exploded from his resting position with surprising speed, his massive frame covering the distance to David in 2 powerful bounds. The bear's enormous paw struck David's chest with bone-crushing force, driving him backward into the concrete wall of the enclosure, while razor-sharp claws raked across his torso. David's radio flew from his belt as Bruno's massive weight pinned him against the wall. The bear's powerful jaws clamped down on David's head and neck, his crushing bite force fracturing skull bones and severing vital arteries. Bruno's powerful bite compressed David's windpipe and caused massive trauma to his cervical spine, making survival impossible. The bear's claws continued to rake across David's body, opening deep gashes that exposed internal organs and caused additional blood loss. The grizzly's assault continued for several minutes, his partially sedated state making him even more unpredictable and dangerous than usual. David's movements ceased as the massive bear's brutal assault proved fatal. Other staff members discovered the situation when David failed to respond to routine radio checks. Emergency response teams arrived with additional tranquilizer equipment and successfully sedated Bruno after determining it was safe to approach. The investigation revealed that David had entered the enclosure before the sedative had taken full effect, violating established safety protocols. David's death sent shockwaves through the wildlife rehabilitation community and prompted enhanced sedation protocols at facilities nationwide. Bruno was transferred to a more secure facility with stricter containment measures, as his association with a human fatality made him unsuitable for the center's rehabilitation program. But even the most secure facilities and experienced handlers couldn't prevent every tragedy, particularly when split-second decisions led to fatal encounters with animals whose strength and unpredictability made them inherently dangerous to work with. It was November 14, 2018, and the urban landscape of Golden Gate Zoo in San Francisco was bustling with the activity of staff members preparing for another busy day of public education and animal care. The 100-acre facility housed over 1,000 animals representing species from around the world, with the primate section being one of the most popular and scientifically important areas of the zoo. The cool morning air carried the sounds of chattering, calling, and the distant hum of city traffic as staff members began their daily routines. Sarah Mitchell, a 31-year-old senior primate keeper, was beginning her morning rounds in the gorilla habitat, home to the zoo's family group of western lowland gorillas. Sarah had worked in the primate section for 6 years and was widely respected for her dedication to gorilla welfare and her expertise in great ape behavior. She maintained a small social media presence with 900 followers, sharing educational content about gorilla conservation and the importance of protecting these magnificent primates in the wild. Sarah had developed what she believed was a trusting relationship with the zoo's silverback gorilla, a 350-pound male named Congo, who had been born in captivity and raised by human caregivers. Her years of daily interaction with Congo had given her confidence in her ability to read his moods and behavioral patterns, and she often spent extra time observing his activities and documenting his social interactions with the other gorillas. That morning, Sarah noticed that Congo appeared unusually agitated, pacing back and forth near the front of his enclosure while making aggressive vocalizations. Construction work on a nearby exhibit had been ongoing for several days, and the unfamiliar sounds of heavy machinery and power tools had been causing stress among several of the zoo's animals. Western lowland gorillas are among the most powerful primates on Earth, with adult males weighing up to 400 pounds and possessing the strength of 10 grown men. Silverback males are highly territorial and will aggressively defend their family groups against any perceived threats. Gorillas communicate through complex vocalizations, body language, and displays of dominance that can escalate rapidly from warning signals to violent attacks. Their massive hands can grip with crushing force, while their powerful jaws contain sharp canine teeth capable of inflicting severe wounds. Sarah's decision to approach Congo's enclosure was motivated by her genuine concern for his welfare and her belief that her presence might help calm his agitation. She approached the reinforced glass barrier that separated visitors and staff from the gorilla habitat, speaking in the soft, reassuring tones she had used with Congo for years. Congo's territorial instincts had been heightened by days of stress from the unfamiliar construction sounds, and Sarah's approach triggered his protective response. The massive gorilla perceived her presence near his territory as a challenge to his dominance, particularly given his already agitated state from the ongoing environmental stressors. The silverback's charge toward the barrier was explosive and terrifying. Congo's 350-pound frame struck the reinforced glass with tremendous force, causing visible cracks to appear in the supposedly impenetrable barrier. The gorilla's massive fists pounded against the glass while he displayed his enormous canine teeth and made threatening vocalizations that echoed throughout the primate building. Sarah began backing away from the barrier, but Congo's incredible strength had compromised the integrity of the safety glass. The silverback's continued assault on the barrier caused additional cracks to spread across the surface, and within seconds, a section of the glass gave way under the tremendous pressure. Congo's massive arm reached through the opening in the damaged barrier, his powerful hand grabbing Sarah's shoulder and pulling her towards the compromised glass. The gorilla's grip strength, exceeding 1,800 pounds per square inch, crushed bones in Sarah's shoulder and arm, while his other hand reached for her head and neck. Sarah's screams alerted other keepers throughout the primate building, but Congo's aggressive posture and protective stance made immediate intervention extremely dangerous. The silverback's powerful hands inflicted crushing injuries to Sarah's head and torso while she remained trapped against the damaged barrier. Congo's territorial fury drove him to continue the assault until he was certain the perceived threat had been eliminated. Sarah's attempts to escape were futile against an animal possessing overwhelming physical advantages and territorial instincts that demanded the complete removal of any challenge to his dominance. Sarah's movements ceased as the massive gorilla's crushing grip and powerful blows proved fatal. The silverback was eventually sedated after a tense standoff that lasted nearly an hour. The investigation revealed that the construction noise had created unprecedented stress levels among the primates, leading to heightened territorial behavior that made normal interactions dangerous. Congo was relocated to a quieter section of the zoo with enhanced barriers, while all primate enclosures received reinforced safety systems to prevent similar breaches. Sarah's death devastated the zoo community and prompted industry-wide reviews of barrier integrity and stress management protocols for captive primates. Her family established a foundation promoting gorilla conservation in the wild, ensuring her dedication to protecting these magnificent animals would continue through enhanced habitat preservation efforts. Thanks for watching. Just when you think you've seen the most tragic examples, we're just getting started. Click the next video that will show you why even the most dedicated animal professionals can fall victim to split-second decisions that prove fatal. Thanks for watching. Want to watch more? Click on your screen now.